Welcome to the Rugby League Outsiders prediction video. This is the only prediction video on the internet that counts, in our opinion. My name's Craig.
My name's Karl. George Williams starred for Warrington as they look to get their season back on track. Salford heaped misery on Castleford, and the Leopards are now serious grand final contenders.
I cannot believe how close all of a sudden Wigan are to Hull KR. It just in 1 week. We thought it was almost a done deal last week.
Well,
After this weekend's games, it is like mega close.
Well, last 2 weeks, there's been a big shift after the last 2 weeks. So we were almost sort of saying, yeah, Hull KR League Leaders Shield, it's done and dusted. It's in the bag. We just got to see who comes out on top in the playoffs. And now all of a sudden, we've got Leeds in the mix. We've got Leigh fully in the mix. Wigan up there with Hull KR sliding a little bit. Yeah, just really exciting. Oh, I forgot to mention Saints. Saints are now up there. They're in third. Are Saints in third?
Yeah, Saints in third. Joint points with Leeds in fourth. So everything to play for. Right, let's have a little bit of recap over this weekend's games. We kicked off on Thursday night with Hull FC taking on Wakefield Trinity.
Hull 16, Trinity 10. The first half of this game, I'll be absolutely honest with you, it was the worst half of Super League this year. Just lacked quality throughout the game. Trinity were on top, and then it flipped in the second half. Hull really got the stuff together. Started building some momentum. I think the first half, they just couldn't keep hold of the ball, really. Started building some momentum, really got themselves back into the game, into a winning position, and got the win.
Second top, Wigan took on second bottom, Huddersfield.
Yeah, Huddersfield came to spoil the party, the Billy Boston party. 10-0 at half-time to the Giants. Second half, I think Matt Pitt had a serious word with them, and we got potentially the try of the season scored in that second half.
Yeah, it was an absolute belter. Moving on then, the Rhinos took on the Saints.
Saints keep going under the radar, but I tell you one thing, the Saints are doing really well, defending incredibly well. Kept the Rhinos to 0 points. It was Leeds 0, Saints 6.
Possibly the game of the weekend. Leigh Leopards took on Hull KR at the Leopards Den.
Leopards 28, Hull KR 10. Craig, I called it last week. I said the Leopards are going to down the Robins. What a game this was. The LSV was absolutely rocking again. Second half, one of the best second halves of rugby I've watched this season.
And big shout out to Josh Charnley as well. 251 tries for his career total.
Yeah, who would keep Josh Charnley out of their side? The guy's just flying. Brilliant performance by him and the rest of the Leigh side. We'll get into that later on.
Perpignan now, and the Dragons took on the Wolves.
George Williams, I think he's trying to save Warrington's season. He had a real captain's knock at the weekend. He was influential in everything that Warrington did well. It finished Dragons 20, Wolves 24.
And another nail-biter then on Sunday. Salford took on Castleford.
Salford 26, Castleford 22. A game that was all about the post-game interviews, actually, with Chris Chester and the owner of Castleford. But Salford picked up their second win of the season, heaped more misery on Castleford. Cass need to find a head coach, and they need to find one soon.
Yeah, and questions being asked about Salford, whether they could actually avoid finishing bottom of the table this year. If they can pick up another couple of scalps, then they could leapfrog Huddersfield.
Well, it's very possible, isn't it? This has got sort of Paul Rowley written all over it. This is what he does best when the backs are against the wall. They put in the best performances. Look, Salford have kept going all year, haven't they? Despite everything that's been going on. Chris Hill had a real good knock this weekend. There is some talent in that side. They're getting a few injuries back as well, which helps. I'd be interested to see how they go this week.
Well, we'll probably talk about this when we come on to Salford for this week, but obviously Nicarima picked up a wrist injury and Eason Masters picking up a shoulder injury, so 2 massive losses for those for Salford. So anyway, let's get into this week then. So moving on to the Thursday, the first game of the round. This is going to be on Sky Sports Action at 8 o'clock. Saints, who are 5 from the last 6, take on Leigh, who are also 5 from the last 6. This is 4th versus 3rd.
Yeah, I can't wait to get stuck in it. The last Thursday night games, the last 2 weeks, have probably been the poorest fixture of the round. However, I don't think it is going to be here with Saints versus Leigh. This has got just bubbling up for excitement, is this. I love watching Leigh at the minute. And then if you throw into the mix with St Helens, who are one of the best defensive sides at the minute, you've got a real exciting game coming here, a really intriguing game. I can't wait to see this on Thursday night.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's a tough one to call as well. Literally 4th versus 3rd. Some people asking the question, have Saints been given a leg up with, some easier fixtures? They play Salford 3 times, they play Castleford 3 times. Is that a little bit of a foot up? You slightly disagree on that, Kat?
A few weeks ago, I'd probably kind of agreed there. But if you actually look who they've played in the last few weeks, and have a look how many points they've scored, it paints a slightly different pictures. Yes, they have played Salford twice. In the last 6 games, they've played Salford twice. However, they've only conceded 1 try in their last 6 games. And they've played Leeds twice. They've played Hull FC and they've played Salford twice. But the defence is on another level at the minute. And I think we've looked at St Helens throughout the season and they haven't been that creative. They've kind of looked a little bit lost when they're in the opponent's red zone. And I think Wellens has got a lot of stick for the style of rugby that they're playing. But one thing that's not changed with St Helens over the last 6-7 weeks is their defence has been firm. It's been solid. And that's gone under the radar a little bit. And now if you look back now over the past few results, you see the defensive quality of this Saints side. That's why they won at the weekend. So going up against the Leigh side that know how to score tries, it's going to be an interesting one.
Right, okay, moving on to Leigh then. So a stat that's really interesting is the fact that they are averaging more than 20 points every game.
Yeah, 26 points a game they're averaging at the minute. And every time they take to the field, they've just got this flair about them. We've spoken about him so many times, Lachlan Lamb, quick feet, he just creates stuff out of nothing at the minute. He's so interesting to watch.
That's got to be a mega comfort blanket when you're going into a game. Because if you think, we're averaging this amount of points, as long as we score those points and stop the other team from scoring, chances are we're going to come away with a win. The issue here is that you're coming against some strong defence. I don't know where Saints rank in the defence amongst every team in the league, but they've got to be pretty good at the minute,
Yeah.
So having just leaked 1 try in the last 6, so it's going to be battle of the offensive against battle of the battle of the defensive team. So it's going to be interesting.
It is at Saints, though, isn't it? I mean, one thing you can say about Leigh is when they're playing at home, they seem to have an extra energy about them, don't they? That crowd gets behind them, and it was second half performance again by Leigh. I mean, first half was great. They played really well first half against Hull KR. Second half turned it up a notch. I actually think they won in all departments in that second half against Hull KR, especially in attack. They were so fluid in attack. Tessie New was absolutely quality. Lachlan Lamb's feet are so quick. Josh Charnley's back scoring. The forwards are really mobile, so they've got a decent pack. It's got some size behind them, but they've got some speed with them as well, and that's kind of the DNA of Leigh now. Saints, it's going to be close. I don't know how to call this one. I think I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go Leigh. Just.
Yeah, I'm going Leigh. I think Darryl Clark come off with a head injury. So I don't know whether he's going to feature this this week or what. Probably not. With it being a Thursday night game, so I think Leigh have just got a little bit too much for Saints. I think it's going to be a very, very narrow game, and I can't wait to watch it. But I think, like you, I agree. I think Leigh are going to come out on top on this one.
Yeah, I'm going Leigh. I mean, Saints were great against Leeds, and there wasn't a whole lot going on in attack. I mean, they only scored the 1 try, but defensively, they're great. So it's a really intriguing game. But I kind of like what Leigh are doing at the minute. I backed them last week. I'm going to back them this week. I think Leigh might just get it done.
Don't forget to stick your choice, who you think are going to win, your predictions down in the comments down below. I love reading what your predictions are, especially those people that go really deep into, I think it's going to be this score by this margin. That's, incredible grasp of the game. So good effort. Keep that going. Moving on to the Friday night then, Karl. We've got 11th place Huddersfield Giants taking on 7th place Wakefield Trinity. Huddersfield 2 from the last 6 now. And as are Wakey. This one kicks off at 8 o'clock, Sky Sports Plus. Where do we go? Where do we start on this one?
I think we'll start with the Giants, I think. Turned up at Wigan, didn't they, to ruin Wigan's party. And first half, they were absolutely great. Tui Loleia has been absolutely awesome all season. Put another stunning performance in that first half. Look, Huddersfield, they're not that far off anymore, are they? Like they went through a patch earlier on in the season. They were just dreadful. They never looked like scoring. The defence was all over the place. They were right up there with Wigan again this week. I know Wigan had a weakened side. There was quite a lot of players, sort of first team players, missing from that Wigan side. They brought in a few youngsters to sort of trial them. But yeah, Huddersfield were certainly good. They certainly know how to start a game well now. They're quite quick out of the blocks, whereas that was something you couldn't say about them earlier on in the season. Still love what George Flanagan's doing as well. Yeah,
100% agree. I think Wolford he's got some direction all of a sudden. We watched him earlier in the season and he kept breaking down, acting half. Now he's got some direction. The whole team's got direction, and the play's starting to flow. I agree with you, Loleia. For a little chubster, of which I am one, so I can say this. He is rapido, isn't he? And very, very evasive, as we know. And do you know what? He challenges everything as well. He really does. Very rarely is he left like loafing in the middle of the pitch, like with zero effort. He backs everything, and a huge part of that team. So
Jacob Gaga had a good game as well. He's just you find him all over the park at the minute. He just pops up when he's needed. I think it's interesting what Luke Robinson's managed to do with Huddersfield. I know they had loads of injuries earlier on in the year, but they went through a patch, didn't they, Huddersfield? And we were saying it in the show, like they didn't look interested. That's completely flipped now. It's kind of they're still going into games. It's like, right, they're the underdogs, but they're the back themselves at the minute. So this is an interesting fixture because when you flip that to Wakefield have been playing really well. They haven't, but if you look at their form now, what is it, 2 out of 6? This weekend against Hull FC on the Thursday night, I thought they were poor Wakefield this week. I know what Dow Powell said about the penalty count and stuff like that, but even in the first half, they were right on top of Hull FC. They were in the red zone, and they kind of looked for the first time like they lacked a little bit of direction and how to create set plays and how to build some pressure, and they just coughed the ball up too much.
So as far as Darryl Powell's concerned, the way to win at home for Hull FC is to have John Cartwright running up and down shouting at the ref. So interesting comments, wasn't it? They kind of batted it off each other, and John Cartwright basically said, well, by the way, let's put some context on this. If you didn't see the post-match interviews, basically Darryl Powell made a bit of a thing of John Cartwright influencing the referee. I think more in the tunnel from based on the post-match press conference.
How he said it was kind of like almost like John Cartwright had been running up and down the touchline. I was like, there's no way that happened because he was in the stand all the way through the game. So it had to have been at half time, yeah.
Yeah, and in the tunnel, like one of the journos in the post-match presser sort of said, did you speak to the referee? And John Cartwright batted off. He's like, no, I didn't. That was, something's been said.
I just shouted really loud so they could hear me in earshot.
And then went on to say, well, he's a fine one to talk. And Darryl Powell himself accepted that he had done it in the past.
Well, that was a thing, wasn't it? Like what they say about throwing stones in glass houses.
Yeah.
Like he kind of said in the presser. He's influenced the referee. I've done it myself, but I
don't think it should work.
I don't think it should work. It's like, you can't really say that and then say you've done it yourself.
But anyway, so there's only one way to sort this out, right? What I'm proposing, we get them two charity boxing match to work out who's right, who's wrong.
Mate, seen size of John Cartwright.
Yeah, I know.
He's got hands like shovels.
All right, so we've spoke about Huddersfield, and now let's have a little chat about Wakey. Yeah, not the team we expected to turn up.
Wakefield have only won 2 of the last 6, but they have had a bit of a difficult run of games. They've played against Hull KR, they've played against Leigh, they've played against Leeds. They did get that win against Wigan, and they have been playing a really entertaining brand of rugby, a style of rugby. It's just really great to watch. That wasn't there on Thursday night against Hull FC, and it was just an error-strewn first half. Second half, they didn't get many penalties go their way, so that kind of went against them. But I would say that was probably due to the fact that Hull FC were just rolling them a little bit in the second half. They got the momentum. They were getting hands and knees, quicker play the balls. I think that probably resulted in the fact that the penalty count was a little bit lopsided. Don't think Darryl Powell really had too much of an argument there. They were second best against Hull FC.
Yeah, I think they were. And I think one of the stats in one of the halves, it was like they only had one player ball within the opposition's 20 yard.
Yeah, it was second half.
Anyway, that was a bit of a... It wasn't the greatest game, let's say that, which is unfortunate because it could have been a belter. So, Huddersfield versus Wakey, how are you calling this one?
It's at Huddersfield. I'm going to go... I don't think Wakefield will... I don't know. I'm going Wakefield. I don't think Wakefield will put in another performance like that. I think they'll get back on the horse this week. Although I think it's going to be really close. I do think it'll be close. I think Wakefield will win.
I'm going to say Wakey as well. I think Wakey are going to win this.
I thought you were going to go Huddersfield. No, I did then.
Well, there's some arguments for Huddersfield.
Yeah, of course there is.
But then, there's some... when you look at... I think this was just a blip in Wakey's season. They tend to do really, really well against the sides that are below them. So, obviously Huddersfield quite a way below them, really. So I would expect a Wakey win. So we'll see how that pans out. The second game then on the Friday night, Leeds versus Salford. Leeds 2 from the last 6 as well. Leeds currently 4 from the last 6, having lost to St Helens twice in those last 6 games. And then Salford just 1 win, as we know, at the weekend. 1 in 6. This kicks off at 8 o'clock on Sky Plus.
Yeah, Salford have had 2 better results, haven't they, the last couple of weeks? They narrowly lost to Warrington. There wasn't too much in that, 12 points to 24. And then, they get picking up the win against Castleford. They're getting there at Salford. I mean, obviously, they're never going to have the strongest side now with the players that have lost. But there's definitely some resilience in that side, and they just keep turning up for each other. A man that you got to give a big shout out to this week is Chris Hill. I thought he just battled and battled. I don't know how many times he came on and off the pitch. Actually, it was just like on and off. I remember my missus saying, she was like, "Is Chris Hill still playing?" I was like, "Yep, he's still going." And I said, "He's having a great game. He just put some work in this week, and fair play to him. He's really got the rewards this week." Yeah, I mean, the thing with Salford, though, this week is injuries. They've picked up, 3 big injuries to a team that's already pretty depleted. It's going to be a difficult afternoon against Leeds.
Yeah, I think they'll be scratching around trying to bring in some troops this week, like get players on loan, from other teams. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think that's going to be anywhere near enough to beat Leeds. I think Leeds will be back to winning ways this weekend. Comprehensive win you would expect. So that's me just nailing my colours to the mast straight away.
Yeah, Rhinos, they struggled to score at the weekend, but it was against a very well organised St Helens defence. You're not going to come up against the same defensive structure against Salford, unfortunately. So I think it's fair to say we're going to get a Leeds win from this fixture. I hope it's a close game for everyone's sake, but Rhinos at home. They've won 4 from the last 6. The only team they've slipped up against, funnily enough, is St Helens. Lost twice to St Helens. But yeah, I fully expect Leeds to win this week.
Right. That'll be interesting when we get to the playoffs. If both teams are in the playoffs, let's assume, and Saints play Leeds again in the playoffs, that could be like an interesting little stat, really.
Yeah, I tell you who didn't fire this week. We've been singing his praises all year. Jake Connor didn't have his best game this weekend. Yeah, often when Leeds are playing well, Jake Connor's playing well. He didn't have his best game against Saints, and therefore they came up short. Didn't manage to score. Don't expect that this weekend. So I'm going for a Leeds win by at least 16 points.
Yeah. Very likely. Right, moving on to the Saturday then, we got second place Wigan taking on sixth place Hull FC. Kicks off at 3 o'clock Sky Plus. Wigan 4 from the last 6, Hull FC 3 from the last 6.
Yeah, so Wigan put out a reduced side, didn't they, this week? There was a number of people missing. Thompson was out, Farrimond was out, managed to, brought in a few new lads, give them a bit of a trial. Look, Wigan are just going through the motions at the minute. I think Wigan I think if any side's got their eye on the playoffs, I think it's Wigan. I think they're resting a few players, giving a few players a bit of a chance who are on the fringes of the side, potentially looking towards next season, because we don't know who they're going to lose from that side. We know they're definitely going to lose some players, so I think they're trying to blood some young talent at the minute. Wigan, they were all right at the weekend. They got the job done. They did score, though. I think we've got to mention it. Probably the try of the month. Definitely, it's got to be up there for try of the year,
possibly decade.
No,
it was an incredible try.
It was a damn good try. Yeah, it was. Do you know the bit of context about this? I was watching the Matty Johns show on Sunday night, and they don't often show Super League. But they showed this try, and they basically said, you would never see a try like this in the NRL. And I was like, what do they mean by that? And he's like, because the NRL's so rigid, so structured, they were basically saying, this is everything we love about the English game. You'd never see a try like that in the NRL. So for anyone who didn't see it started in one corner of the field. It went through every pair of hands in the side. Apart, I think 12 players touched the ball. It went through every player's hands almost, from one corner to the other. Harry Smith just put his beautiful chip kick across field. I think it was Wardle that ended up scoring it, didn't it? Incredible try. Loved watching it.
Definitely one to remember. You're saying like Wigan got their eye on the playoffs.
Yeah.
Wigan will also have their eye on the League Leaders Shield at the minute, because they're only 2 points away from Hull KR. So, I'm surely they're going to want to follow up their League Leaders Shield win from last year.
Well, you would have thought they play each other as well, don't they, soon? We're only a few weeks away from that, where Hull KR and Wigan play each other. And that was a game we were looking forward to weeks ago, and then we kind of wrote it off after Hull KR started pulling away. But yeah, that's back on now, isn't it? That could be the game that almost decides the League Leaders Shield this year. Look, Wigan v Hull FC. We spoke about Hull FC, haven't we? They were dreadful in that first half against Wakefield. It was just a terrible half of rugby. I think John Cartwright, I don't know, he said something to him at half time. The Old Faithful got behind Hull FC in the second half. They put a better performance together. But even if they put that performance together against Wigan will still blow them out of the water. They've got to go up 10 notches at least to be able to beat that Wigan side at home.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I know Wigan have had a couple of little blemishes on their record this year, and some lower table teams have really pushed them to the end. I think they're going to win against Hull FC. I'm going to chalk this down as a Wigan win as the favourites, and I think that's kind of how it's going to pan out.
Yeah, I've got Wigan down as clear favourites. I think we're going to win this one.
Right, moving on then. So we've got 9th place Catalan Dragons taking on 1st place Hull KR. Catalans 1 from the last 6, just one solitary win in that last 6 games. And Hull KR 4 from the last 6. Kicks off at 6 o'clock this on Sky Sports Mix. So what are we saying about this?
Well, Mikey Lewis has been missing for 2 games and Hull KR have lost 2 games. He's back this weekend, and I think that's all you need to know. When we look at Catalan, they're still not on it, are they, Catalan? They played amicably against Warrington at the weekend. However, Warrington were there for the taking. I think they didn't shut George Williams down. They made too many errors again at home. Really not good enough for Catalan at home.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't watch this game, but I did see the highlights, and I saw a sweet little nudge through from George Williams. It's like a little kick to the side. I don't know how he did that, but absolute belter, and sealed the game there. So, I think they would have been wanting to win that game at home, Catalans.
Oh, yeah, big time. Big time.
And it didn't come off. Very, very stiff opposition this weekend. And like you say, if Michael Lewis is back, I mean, this could be a disaster for Catalan
Danny Richardson did get injured for KR at the weekend. He sort of stepped in, didn't he, as a new half-back spine for them. Didn't quite work for him. He's injured. I think, is Jez Litton injured as well?
Yeah.
Jez Litton, HIA.
Fractured cheek, I think.
So they're without a couple of troops at OKR, but I'm expecting a clear response from Hull KR this week, and I think Catalan are going to suffer for it big time.
But I suppose they're lucky that Michael Lewis is back. You know, if Jez Litton, who's been dropping into that half-back position, they brought another they haven't recruited him, but they recalled Danny Richardson, didn't they?
Yeah.
You know, and I think he started. I think he had a niggle when he started and just couldn't get through the game. Clearly, limped off, will not feature, I would think, the way that he limped off. So, albeit Michael Lewis is back, I mean, he needs any other problem there. If Tyrone May picks up a knock, or Michael Lewis isn't quite 100% and he ends up, going off again, then they're a bit shafted, really.
They couldn't match Leigh's energy levels in the second half this week. It was unlike Hull KR. They like the... I don't know what it was. They like to get the noses in front, don't they? And then the free-flowing rugby often starts, and it didn't happen this week. Leigh just... I think Leigh beat them in all departments. I think they were getting the shoulders through the line every time they took the ball. They managed to get a quicker play the ball on, and the field started opening up for Leigh. And the KR did struggle a little bit with the speed that Leigh were putting on them. However, that ain't going to happen with Catalan. Catalan don't have that strike power. Even if Luke Keary's playing at his best, he doesn't have the sort of speed that Lachlan Lamb's going to attack the line with. So for me, it's a very easy Hull KR win, this is.
Yeah, agreed. So we're agreeing on quite a few this week. Makes for an interesting...
How did we do last week?
I think I got absolutely battered last week. I think you took a couple of scalps, didn't you?
I picked up two big wins. I backed Salford to get a win against Cass, and I backed Leigh to beat Hull KR. Rest of them went wayward, I think, though. I think, I've got the Dragons Wolves one wrong. Who else was there? I got the Saints Leeds one wrong, and I got the Wigan one right. I think I got 3 of 6 last week.
No, not bad. Right, okay, let's move on then. So the final game of the week. On Sunday, we've got 10th place Castleford Tigers taking on 8th place Warrington. Castleford currently 1 from the last 6 and Warrington 3 from the last 6. Kicks off at 3 o'clock. It's going to be shown on Sky Sports Plus. Sunday afternoon game then, Karl.
Well, you got a bit of stick last week when you called the Catalan Warrington game the Crap Cup.
Did I?
Yes. Yeah, you did. Is this the Crap Cup version 2, volume 2? I don't know.
At the minute, I can't see a great deal of excitement in here. Obviously, if George Williams is on fire, if he wants to lay down a bit of a statement on his upcoming exit from the team, then who knows? He'll probably pick Castleford apart relatively easy. But having saying that was the exception, not the rule for Warrington this year. I know the conditions in Catalan were pretty crap, weren't they? So, you'd expect a bit better conditions this weekend for Castleford, but I think...
all the news around Castleford is all about the head coaching situation, isn't it? Did you see the interviews with... is it Martin Jepson, the owner, and Chris Chester's been doing quite a bit of media. I thought it was quite interesting. I like the fact that John Wilkin, as John Wilkin does, he really questioned what Jepson was saying, didn't he? Sort of, he's basically saying, look, we want to start building the team for next year, and therefore we need to have the right coach in place for next year. It's a coach that needs to build the team, and then John Wilkin went, well, Danny Maguire didn't build the team that you gave him.
Well, no, Martin Jepson basically said, I've inherited this setup. You know what I mean?
Oh, yes, that's what he said, yeah.
And then John Wilkins said, well, yeah, but, he batted it right back and said, well, yeah, but you could say Danny Maguire inherited the team. He didn't have anything to do with that. You know what I mean? And the bit of fumbling apart. Yeah, if the sound had dropped out then... Oh, sorry, I can't quite hear you, John. I wouldn't have been surprised, but... so anyway...
Since 2023, they've had Lee Radford, Andy Last, Danny Ward, Craig Lingard and Danny Maguire since 2023. That is pretty terrible.
Well, this is what Wilkin were getting at. It's like, it's not it's not the playing group. It's not the coach that's at fault. Like, if you're going through like 5 or 6, coaches like that since when was it?
2023.
2023. You've got to ask like where is the problem here? So I don't know. I mean, you could argue who've got in that list? Have you got anybody that's like a proven coach? Danny Ward did quite well, didn't he?
Craig Lingard did really well at Batley. I know that's not Super League standard.
Leigh Radford,
Leigh Radford
before he's basically getting sacked on the pitch or whatever it was. So no like proven.
No, there's no like Wayne Bennett there, is there? Or Brian McDermott or someone that's won a load of trophies. And interestingly, what Chris Chester said is that they're going out looking for a development coach. And I'm kind of looking at that list of who they've brought in before. I'd say Danny Maguire was an unproven coach. Craig Lingard hadn't coached at Super League level before when they had him in.
No, I think you've misunderstood the development, haven't you? You're thinking that a coach that needs developing. I take that as a coach that has a proven history of developing a team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
That's how I've interpreted it. But because all those coaches you would think are, they're apart from Leigh Radford, who did a lot of time at Hull, didn't he? They are cutting the teeth.
A little bit.
A little bit. So I don't know. It's a weird one. I mean, people have got their eyes on it now, though. So if they bring in another coach now and that coach flounders, then they're going to just be laying it on the doorstep of Martin Jepson and the rest of the board.
The board are in for it now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, the board they've gone and sacked Danny Maguire really before they've even given him a proper chance, in my opinion. If this next coach, if they buy new players, right, this coach doesn't perform, it's landing with the board, and I don't think the Cas fans will put up with it. I think they've had enough the last few years. Castleford never used to be like this revolving door of coaches. They used to always let time for coaches to get settled in and have a couple of seasons, and it's just really changed the last few years, and it's not worked for him, has it?
I think Wilkins sort of pegged the blame on reduced spending, didn't they?
Yeah.
If you listen to like the interview, he was sort of saying that there's been a big cut in the playing.
The budget.
Budget. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. In the last few years, again, that would lie with the board. I know, like the financial state of a club is the financial state of a club, but then do we need to bring in some more investors or some more investment or some new initiatives to generate a bigger players' budget and improve the team like that?
I just think whoever's been in charge of buying the players the last couple of years has just got it wrong, and whoever that has been, I don't know, but they haven't recruited a strong enough side, and essentially they're struggling for it, and for that reason the crowd numbers are dwindling. That means the finances are going down. It's a bit of a... I do like what Chester said though this week. He said that we're looking at players who we're looking to build a squad around for next season, and he said there's going to be a lot of changes in that Castleford side. So there could be some young lads on the fringes of that Cas side we're going to get to see play now in the next few weeks. That's interesting. I like that.
So it is 10th versus 8th. What we're saying then? So are we saying this is going to be a Warrington win?
Yeah, I can't see Castleford doing much more now for the rest of the season. And although Warrington, I think, are hot and cold, and they haven't had the best season. Let's face it. I think they'll be too strong for Castleford.
Right, okay, so we're both going for a Warrington win. So that's the games this weekend. Yeah, so remember to stick your predictions in the comments down below. Sorry, just blew Carl's ears out there, which I don't mind doing every now and again. And thank you to those people that have joined the channel recently. It really does help us produce this show and keep these videos going out. So I really appreciate that. If you want to join, then there is a link down in the description below. And the final thing, Karl, anything else? Any little afterburners for this week?
Yes, our set 6 is dropping later on in this week. We're going to discuss in a bit more depth what's been going on at Castleford, plus Josh Charnley's 250th try.
So until next time, take care.